And roll call, Mrs. Milton, please.
Mr. Burway and
Present.
Mr. Jenks and Mr.
Here.
Slocum. You're all
Here.
here?
We're here.
Okay. you're-
Good. All right, and we will be doing the Pledge of Allegiance shortly as a full council, so we will leave it for that. Items 3 through
3 to 6.
16 are very generous gifts.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna say something? No, I 3 through 16 are very generous gifts, which we have had every month, and through this pandemic, it's just absolutely amazing, the generosity of our community. Does somebody want to move that we recommend these be accepted by the full council?
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second? Mr. Jinks? All
Second.
right. Any
Second.
discussion? Thank you, sir. Any discussion?
Nope.
I would note that we've seen picnic table for the first time. Is that something new? That's great, I think.
Looks like buying two
That's
benches.
going to be good to see some.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I think that's been a request.
Is it-
I don't know, this may be the first one, I'm not sure, but I
I
know
think
that
it
that's
is.
the
I
Yeah, I
excitement.
think it
think it
might
was
be.
a special request, yeah.
It was a special request. I think it's a great idea, because like you said,
Yep.
it's sorely needed, so.
Exactly. I mean, we bought a pizza and eaten at the ones near West Main Street. You walked
Right.
over and eaten there. And fortunately, they haven't been taken. We've done that several times and they haven't been taken, but I could see where they would be. And it's great to see some other ones. So good. Any other questions or comments on any of these? All right, sensing you're ready to vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I think I heard 3 voices or.
Yep, yep.
Very good, thank you. All
Heard
right.
yours twice.
More link. There you go. Discussion and possible action regarding an agreement with Colliers for continuing consulting services for school modernization. We need to continue with some information. Jim, you found them to be very helpful, I assume, or we wouldn't have seen this request.
Yeah, I
Because
I
you were-
thought Colliers was. Yeah, I thought. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Sure,
Okay.
I can hear you
I
fine.
thought Colliers was very good, very good, and I think it'd be a good move for us to continue to rely on their services. The only comment I had about and I don't know if this is the time, the wording of the resolution, just it says it seems to specify the preferred options. It seems to me we should leave that as just the options, just because it's, as we go out to the public and, we may have other options for us to consider rather than just the preferred options.
All right, what resolution item is that? So I can see the full.
Number 3,
Oh,
Yeah.
9A, Resolution 3.
On 8, okay.
With that, Jim, do you think the council has an appetite for exploring 3 or 4 other options? I mean, really?
don't know about 3 or-
It's a fair question. I think it's a fair
Sure.
question, because the preferred options were the 2 that the SMC sort of settled on. Is that correct?
They were the 2 that we settled on. Myself, I have another idea, but I also think in the sort of spirit of the public hearings and going out to the public, and the Board of Ed's going to be going out to the public asking for other ideas and stuff. And I think we want to leave it somewhat open. I don't think changing it from preferred options to options is all that of a significant change, but to me that the resolution does sort of narrow it down a little bit too much.
I wouldn't disagree with that, Jim, but I wouldn't think that we would be limited in what we could decide anyway. But if you want to change that, I would have no objection.
Yeah, I would favor leaving the word preferred out as well, because I think we may even take the options and break them up differently, and therefore. that
Right.
creates options. So.
That too.
So I would support a resolution to the full council, it's then presented, but taking the word preferred out.
That's fine by me.
All right. Jim, did you want to move that? That we.
Yeah,
recommend
please. Yeah,
take
we
this-
can move that.
Pass this
Sure.
motion with the word preferred missing. All right.
Yes.
Tim, you want to second that then?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, and we think $25,000 should be enough to get, of course, we can always add to it later if we need to, right? Okay, thank you, Arnett.
By resolution, of course.
Yeah, yes, of course. How much was appropriated and how much is left for this?
Zero.
I
Um,
think we
It's
went to the whole
close.
budget.
it's close to the, but I actually meant to look that up today, so I'd have that number for you, and I didn't get to it. I apologize. We're pretty close to the 150. And I can get you that number. Actually, I can try to look it up between this meeting and the council meeting.
We'll try not to ask you other questions for the next 20 minutes then.
Yeah. I think might be about 17,000, but my
Over
memory
and
isn't
above
very
this.
good, so.
So this is
I'll
enough.
check.
We still may have a little bit. Okay.
Is that-
We're certainly not
I
over.
think that's a fair question because it almost seems like 25. But if we had to increase it, we certainly could by resolution.
Right.
Absolutely.
I don't think we should hand them a bigger pot of gold, but it would be nice to know we had a little in the kitty.
Yeah.
I just don't
And a
think we
short
have
leash at a-
much.
And a short leash at a time is probably good in terms
Yeah.
of you can spend.
Yeah, it gives you more control.
Arnett probably knows better than me, but I seem to recall that we had a discussion on the SMC of spending our last like 3,500 or something on an additional,
thought.
on some additional study or something. So
Yeah, I think it's mostly gone too. I don't think it's as high
think-
as, I think
yeah.
it's almost zero.
I'm pretty sure you're right, but I will check it.
Okay. Very good. All right. So we have a motion. We have a second. Is there more discussion? Seeing none, sensing you're ready to vote, all those in favor of the motion with the word preferred out, signify by saying aye or hands, passes unanimous. Very good. Now, next item, discussion and possible action regarding award of RFP for purchase of electricity. A little more complicated here. Let me find the notes.
David, I can maybe jump in and give you a little background on
Sure,
that if that
please.
helps.
Thank
So
you.
our current contract for electricity is expiring this November 30th. And we felt that, the sooner the better we get locked in. We have some concerns, I think, mostly around prices continuing to trend upward as we come off, COVID restrictions and so forth, with stimulus monies out there. The thought is that, we, at least our consultant feels strongly that prices will rise going forward. And so we did reach out and did an RFP recently a bid for pricing, which is in your packet. This was May 5th, I believe, about a week ago. And we currently are at a rate of 0.081 kilowatt hours. And we had bids for 2 years at 0.0731. We got pricing for both 1, 2, and 3 years. Likely, we would go with a 2-year period because I'm getting the sense that sometimes contracting for too long a period, you lock yourself in, and if there's changes, we wouldn't be able to take advantage of them. But that's something I think that we need to give Sean the flexibility to, take a look at, whatever pricing comes in when we, if it's tomorrow, lock in as to what might be the best option to go with. So this is asking really, this resolution would give Sean the permission to proceed with contracting for electricity, which right now is even more favorable than the rates that we have been getting.
Mhm.
For example, in the packet, it mentions 28,339 per year if we go with the 2-year option. Just FYI, that again, the prices change every day. Today, the prices were not 0.073, but 0.0754.
Mhm.
So that savings actually deteriorated by almost $10,000.
Right.
Who knows what it could swing the other way over the next couple of days, but it's something, I think anything we get that's below the pricing we are at right now is probably a win-win before it gets any worse out there.
Jim, this is no different than the authority we gave you guys to go out to,
We did this
do
within
the
year
bonding.
with our
And
natural
we've done
gas.
this before. I
Yeah,
mean, it just gives you the flexibility to fly when you think you have to.
exactly. And
Right.
there is a cap too. If it goes over 0.0775, we're gonna have to come back to you again and rethink this. But again, I think if we get anything that's below the rate we had, which I think has been a really good rate that we've enjoyed for quite a long time now, because we were paying a lot higher for electricity years back. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say. We are using a new consultant, not a new consultant, but one that we had previously used for procuring natural gas. And it was either that or CCM. Frankly, this company gave us much better pricing for the consulting work, and I'm absolutely thrilled with how much work they've done. They've already found, a number of taxes that we were getting assessed that we shouldn't have been, and we were able to recoup those recently to the tune of over $20,000. So
Wow.
they really, I think, do a good job of taking a look at our accounts.
Good.
Don't know if I have anything else. to add.
I'm happy to move that.
I just want to mention too, we are looking at the Board of Ed that, they're on a different cycle than we are with electricity, but with natural gas, we may come back to you in the near future for the next round. And we are going to look at it both with and without the Board of Ed to see if we can bundle it and even save more money by doing that.
Would that require another action?
Yes.
Or, okay,
Yes.
so you'd have to
Yeah.
get that to us quickly then.
The pricing right now has not been favorable to locking in, and so we've
Okay.
been with Eversource for our natural gas supply. So that so far we haven't bid it out to the market, at least not recently. But if that develops to a point where that might be beneficial to us, we certainly are going to get back to you to ask permission to go forward with that.
What's the bigger piece of consumption? It's obviously electric. It's not gas, correct? Because we have gas just at the pool and we have gas. I guess we have
Pool
town bill.
is the biggest user of our
Yeah.
gas by far.
Treatment plant is for our electricity.
Electricity
Okay,
on the
okay.
treatment plant and also at the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably,
And the school, I guess it's probably split, or it's mostly electric if it's anything, right?
I believe you're right, Tim. I'm not as intimate with what they have, but I don't think they have that much natural gas over there from what I.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we haven't converted anything. I know there's gas that goes to Doolittle, but we haven't converted anything.
Yeah, we've talked about it. But that,
Right.
But
Thank
we
you.
were still doing wood stoves in all the classrooms.
Come on. Oh, is that plan number 3?
Hey, chalkboards and erasers would be a lot cheaper than those smart boards. All
Yep.
right. Any other questions or comments? Is your
Nope.
pleasure to recommend you'll move this, Jim?
I think Tim actually did earlier.
Oh, Jim,
Yeah,
Second.
I pushed to move it.
I'm sorry, I didn't, okay, and there's a second, Jim?
Yep, second.
I missed that then, I'm sorry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Passes. So
I pushed it was the operative word, Mr. Chairman. I should have waited for you to ask.
That's fine. I appreciate that. I missed something somewhere, there's a skip or something. Okay, so the last item on our agenda is discussion of American Rescue Plan fund eligible uses. We received some slightly more clarity the other day, I guess, with what you forwarded to us, Sean, yesterday afternoon, but
Well,
plan that you sent out Friday night, are we still likely to be in compliance with?
so there are a number of areas that we're taking a closer look at. I will say, maybe first of all, yeah, so the guidance came out yesterday afternoon. We've gone through, there's a 150-page kind of master document that they call the final rule, and then there are attachment FAQs and other kind of summary documents that we've looked through, and it kind of an overview. I know Jim and his team are kind of diving deeply into some of the items. One thing that stood out that Jim pointed out to me earlier this morning was a statement that for those non-entitlement towns, so kind of that 50,000 population threshold, that yes, the funds are going to go through the state, and additional guidance specific to that allocation will be forthcoming next week. So as much as we thought, so there's a lot of prescriptive statements in the guidelines, and I think we can assume some of them will apply. But I mean, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but what we were looking at this morning implies that all of that is subject to some change by what they tell the states to pass along, I guess, to the towns, or however, or if the states are given some latitude to apply their own rules. I was on a 2-hour CCM call this morning with most of the other all of the towns in CCM, other executives, and this was a topic, kind of broadly speaking. Again, not everyone had had a chance, really, any of us, to really digest everything we had, but I think there's some clarity in some areas and then some further confusion in others. And we are looking closely at some of the components that seem to apply to use of funds for reserve accounts and for prior debt service. So we want to, before we make any final rulings on that, we want to really read through what they're recommending and see if that's going to affect our plans. But I don't know, Jim, is there anything you want to add to that? It wasn't, I was a little
well,
more
I,
initially
you know,
confident before I read some of
in
the.
certain respects, with the flurry of information that came out yesterday, in certain respects, I feel like, you know, I know definitively more than I had, but at the same time, I have a lot more questions, unfortunately. And, you know, I have some thoughts about how to work through some of the calculations based on what they did provide. But even at that, I'm going to have some questions, which hopefully we can get answers for soon.
But of course, the bottom line here is how's this impact our budget process? Because we're
Exactly.
banking on this money, and I mean, I'd rather be spanked than make a mistake.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this could be a little ridiculous, and if the state's defaulting on the information, and they are obviously for no good reason, that's a problem.
Yeah. I know even for the calculation of lost revenue, it's maybe not as specific to departments as perhaps I thought. And it's more of a global picture of looking at revenue. At least that's what it appears based on what I've read so far. So you know, hopefully tomorrow I'm going to take a look and kind of run some numbers and see if I can come up with some thought of, you know, by doing it the way they're suggesting it, if it would make it, you know, better or worse or sideways. It's just a, you know, take it.
So
one
your
step at a
million
time.
four, Sean, may be subject to some variability. What do you think about the trust fund stuff?
Well, there was one section that addressed whether the use of funds could be applied to rainy day funds, budget stabilization funds, or the like. So some of this will be in our own interpretation of whether that's considered a budget stabilization fund or similar to a reserve fund. But there was language indicating that that would not be permitted. So that's something that we need to take a closer look at.
Gotcha. So that's a serious blow.
Again, it's having only had it for about 24 hours, you know, it's hard to definitively know, you know, as you pour through the 150-page document. I think the general sense from the towns on the call I was on this morning was frustration that there's additional ambiguity that's created. And then concern about, and I know Mayor Bronin from Hartford, who chairs the committee that I was on, and he was saying that he was requesting that Treasury have some sort of simplified pre-clearance process or something that says, hey, Treasury, here's what we're going to do. Now, remember, they're an entitlement city, so they're going directly with Treasury. They don't have a state as an intermediary, so they're a little different. But his request was something along the lines of, hey, this is our intended use, broadly speaking. Does that pass muster? And some sort of okay, so that, you know, his fear is that 3 years from now, potentially some other administration says, hey, look what they did. They owe money back to the feds because they did something wrong. They want some sort of assurance because there's no application process. So it's, you know, I wish we had more. I was really expecting we might have a little more clarity here on May 11th. This was the target date. We thought we might get that information. That additional week really doesn't help us as we're kind of really up against the time crunch here. So if they are going to give additional guidance to the towns our size. But again, I think as Jim and his team and I kind of pour through all of this too, and just try to come up with some recommendations. And there are a few areas, in fairness, that Jim identified that we hadn't considered using that seem to be eligible, to the extent you're replacing workforce that were cut pre-pandemic, to the extent some of the positions we've talked about would fall into that category. That might be dollars those are clearly allowed if that comes to pass in our final budget. So there may be some pluses and minuses, and we have to figure out a path forward.
So we're still unsure. Jim, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, Sean, if you knew of CCM or if Cost or somebody was going to perhaps approach the governor about another short extension or something due to this confusion.
And it didn't come up today. I think this is the hardest part, is that there's, generally speaking, I mean, we're not alone. There's a lot of towns that are relying on these funds in some way to support their budget. So, we are still, I think, a little on the earlier side. Some towns aren't not yet adopting, but that didn't come up is the short answer. But I guess anything is certainly possible. Certainly from, again, Hartford's perspective, it's pretty clear they're relying on a lot of these funds for balancing their budget. So it's almost orders of magnitude, but it's the same issue that we're all facing.
They're
You gotta
still
wait.
printing trillions of dollars. I mean, the total's the same. This is the part that frustrates me.
So, yeah, I wish I had better, clearer news, but I think, and again, every paragraph, not to get into the detail, but every paragraph sort of starts with towns will have wide latitude, much discretion. This is a non-exclusive list. There's a lot of that's written throughout the document. And then you see some sort of specific yes and no's that are kind of not consistent with that. So it's just it's hard to say. There seems to be a theme of being less prescriptive. And then at times, when it comes to the loss of revenue that Jim was referencing, that entire section has very specific calculations and a graph that shows the expectations you can use, and carry the one, take fiscal 19, do this, that, and the other. I mean, it's very specific, but then in other times it's saying, but the towns have a lot of discretion here, so it's not as clear as I wish it was.
Not to get totally wild here, but if they're saying that it can be used for health and safety, and they're saying that it can be used for sewer and water, do we have to do stupid things like gut the whole WPCD and the Chespercott and zero that out and use these funds for all of that so that we can free up those funds? It's understandable, because I know Congress, I know the two sides disagreed, and one side, which wasn't the prevailing side, but probably still got some language in there, did not want it to be used to bail out states, if you will, that were having issues with the retirement funds being woefully underfunded. Cheshire's not in that situation. We're about 80% funded. That's reasonable, and that's very good. So what else do we do with it? So we really do have a lot to look into, but for that, we'll be ready to adopt the budget fairly probably, because we've already reviewed everything. And what you sent out Friday night was a nice summary and a reasonable mill rate, and we were ready to discuss it Thursday night, and still will.
Right.
But anyway, so
hopefully between
to
now and
Jim's-
Thursday, we can get some more questions answered. Sorry.
But to Jim's question, or at least how I perceived it, what I know we've adopted a night we want to do the budget, adopt the budget, but what flexibility did we have with that? Was that charter driven because we advanced it the month, or did we just pick a date?
Well, it was really driven. That's a good point. I'm glad you're raising that, because you're right. The governor's extension went through June 30th.
Mhm.
Our own needs to finalize in advance of finalizing the tax bills and things that go out in the middle of June is probably our own restriction. So I can take a closer look at that. We may have, again, with council approval, theoretically, we could probably add a week or so. But you're right. The governor's order actually probably already allows that. I think when we adopted, we mentioned that that was the time. Should we want to extend, we have a little more flexibility there. It's not like it was last year where there was just 30 days automatically added. So
So if we had to buy a week, we might be able to.
I think with
And
council,
you're referring to just printing of the tax bills and all that stuff, needing that various, numbers of days to get the bills out.
that's right.
thought we
Okay.
had, I'm sorry, I thought we had one chance to do an extension, and the extension we gave ourselves was till the 28th, I think. And we said
One shot only. I don't
25th,
remember
but
that.
I thought it said we had one chance to do it, and that's what we chose. But,
I'll confirm. I'll look back at the
okay,
email to confirm.
all right. Yeah, let us know tomorrow when you find
Yeah.
out. I mean, if we can get it more time, certainly we could use it just for this one.
Well, just the if factor.
Right.
Yeah, we'll try to get some more clarity tonight and tomorrow morning.
All right. Clear as mud.
Mm.
All right. All right. Well, we'll bring that discussion to the full council and let them know.
Excuse me, David.
Yes,
Sorry, just wanted to let you know that the balance in the school modernization account is $9,993.
Wow.
so where would we get the 25,000 from?
We'd have to appropriate it from Sean, capital planning.
From me?
Yeah.
There goes that.
I vote against that.
Your
Yeah, sorry,
intentions
so
were
Or
good.
capital planning or capital non-recurring.
Yeah, I would defer probably to Jim, but it would probably be capital planning account. If we'd have to check the balance.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that'd probably be my first.
Yep,
place to
be
go.
my first.
Yeah. All right, so do we have to change? Let's see. What is, it doesn't,
The resolution doesn't
the
specify.
resolution doesn't say where it's coming from. Do we need to say that in the resolution?
Jim, what do you think? I probably wouldn't.
I
hurt.
think we have plenty of capital planning funds, and I have looked at that recently, so I can't see.
I kind of presumed that's where it was going to come from. So I think it should be
meets the
identified.
Spirit of what we set those. monies
Absolutely.
aside for.
So Jim, we
Absolutely.
need an appropriation. Should we add a resolution to appropriate from that? That's a good point.
I would.
Sounds good.
Okay.
If you guys could put something
We'll
together,
make
put
it
it up on the
amendment.
screen when we
Yeah,
get
and
to
then
that item on
If
the
you could put
agenda.
an amended one on the screen during that part.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we should probably jump into the public hearing. That's a separate link, right? Or not?
It is. We got to log out.
Okay. All right, so then I'll accept a motion to adjourn the budget committee.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, aye. All right, motion is approved. We
Aye.
adjourned
See you in
and
a second.